So living in BC is awesome, right? Between all the mountains and nature, our access to things like schools, healthcare, and jobs should make life pretty good around here. But of course, that's not really the deal. We already know there's a huge amount of inequality in our society, and it should come as no surprise that the people living in Point Grey are wealthier and, more importantly, healthier than those living in Canada's poorest postal code. The health part is important because it's not just about access to doctors. Where you live, what your support networks are, and what you can earn all affect your health, and in fact we refer to these as the social determinants of health. Because of these factors, higher socioeconomic status people have better health, creating what we call a social gradient. But what should really trouble us is that where you end up on this curve depends on where you start out. And it's not just a matter of poorer kids not having as many opportunities as wealthier ones. Being born into a low socioeconomic status family will have an impact on your health from day one and will always be working against you. And when the next generation has no hope of improvement over the previous one, that's a problem for everyone.
Across the province, there is tremendous variation in how at risk a child is at ending up on the wrong side of the social gradient. We like to refer to this as childhood vulnerability. If we take a look, we can see the darkest red representing school districts with the most vulnerable children, to lightest red representing school districts with the least. But let's zoom in and take a look at Vancouver. Here we see Kitsilano and Shaughnessy in the lightest red, and Strathcona in the darkest. But how is vulnerability measured anyway? The Early Development Instrument, or EDI, is used to measure the vulnerability of kindergarten children across the province. Teachers are asked to fill out a questionnaire for each of the children in their class in February, once they know their students. The questionnaire measures 5 core areas: physical health and well-being, with questions like, can the child hold a pencil, and is the child on time for school each day? Language and cognitive development, which asks if the child is interested in reading and writing and can count and recognize numbers. Social competence, with questions like, does the child share with others, and is the child self-confident? Emotional maturity, with things like, is the child able to concentrate, or is the child aggressive or angry? And finally, communication skills and general knowledge, which ask questions like, can the child tell a short story? So back in Strathcona, data from the most recent EDI shows that over 50% of kindergarten children were vulnerable in one or more of these key areas. Compare that with just 18% in Kitsilano.
So why do we care? Within the first 5 years of life, vulnerable children often have less exposure to verbal language, human interaction, and more stress at home. Population-based research has shown that experience within this critical period influences not only physical and mental health in adult life, but also attainment of quality education and employment. Childhood experience can be shaped by many socially determined factors functioning within the home. For example, parents on average are working 300 more hours per year to maintain the same level of socioeconomic status. This is 300 fewer hours spent at home. If a poor social environment for developing children predicts vulnerability, worse health, lower education, and fewer job options, then what we see is a vicious, socially determined cycle. If you are a glass half full type of person, you might see something else, an opportunity for change. Over the 10 years that EDI data has been collected, many neighborhoods have shown that less than 10% of kids are vulnerable. If we can create environments where all children thrive, then we can achieve less than 10% vulnerability in all neighborhoods. How about interventions that increase work-home flexibility, improve access to childcare, and make investing for children easier? Join us. Let's come up with the ways to break the cycle between poor social circumstance and ill health.